This project was supported by Award 15PJDP 22GK00946MUMU, awarded by the Office of Juvenile Justice and the Office of Justice Programs. The opinions, findings, and conclusions or recommendations expressed in this videocast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of the Department of Justice.
Hello, everyone. My name is Aryan Nima, and I'm a National Mentoring Resource Center Youth Advisory Council member at Mentor, and I work under the NMRC project. I'm excited to be here today with the founder and president of Road Recovery and our very own NMRC technical assistance provider, John Harris, who provides technical assistance through Mentor Review. For our first ever Office of Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention, also known as the OJJ-DP grantee video interview on the NMRC website. Thank you both for being here, and let's jump right in. So my first question is, could you both introduce yourself and describe what you do?
I'm Gene Bowen. I'm the founder of Road Recovery, chief bottle washer, and everything else that goes with it. But I work primarily on overseeing all the programming side of it, kind of in the trenches with our staff. There's a co-founder, Jack Bookbinder, who handles all the administrative load. So that's kind of how the organization is divvied up as far as responsibilities.
And I'm John Harris. As you say, I'm a technical assistance provider working out of Mentor, Virginia. Part of the time, I'm an independent consultant the rest of the time. I specialize in program evaluation and measuring relationship characteristics.
Awesome. So, Gene, could you talk a little bit about receiving the OJJDP grant and what it meant for your program?
Well, first, we fell off our chairs. We're a small nonprofit based out of the music industry and had never applied for a federal grant. And this is during COVID. We had figured out our programming model to actually was able to, through technology, to be able to deliver our services through a virtual state. And we had been working with Oasis, which is a New York State agency that oversees substance abuse services and such. And we had received a grant through them, and they had tipped us off to the OJJDP. But applying for the grant was pretty daunting. And then to receive not only one, but we actually received two, being selected out of a small number across the United States and winning two grants for the state of New York. Needless to say, it was pretty mind-blowing for us, and at the same time pretty daunting because we had never worked with the federal government before. So yeah, it was like strap in, and this is going to be an adventure. And that it has been. It's been an incredible experience for us on so many different levels. But yeah, we never thought we would ever receive one, let alone two grants on such a high level. So
cool. And then can you share some of the support you received from the NMRC technical assistance?
Yeah, so we had no idea about the National Mentor Resource Center. That wasn't even on our radar. And upon receiving the grant, interesting enough, one of the criteria for responsibilities in the grant was data collection, which sent a shockwave through Jack and my system, because we had done some data collection, but nothing to the extent that the expectations we felt with the OJJDP. We had a relationship with NYU. We had done a lot of work with NYU, and Jack and I are both alumni from NYU. So we immediately called them to say, hey, we don't know what we're getting ourselves into. And they jumped on board and actually wrote a grant and said, we're going to help you with this. So then when we entered into a lot of after initially accepting the grants, you're then subject to a lot of seminars and such to kind of immerse you into the OJJDP world. And one of those things was National Mentor Resource. And there was I remember in the early part of receiving the grant, there was an unbelievable amount of seminars that we needed to attend, which at first was like, oh my God, I don't think I have enough time in the day, but what is this? What is all of this? And it was really great because each one slowly indoctrinated us into the NMRC world. And I started to attend these seminars on all sorts of topics. And one of them happened to be a seminar that John was leading. And I don't know, a lot of the people I've found that attend these, they're either eating their lunch or something. They tend to turn off their cameras and everything. So though there was a lot of people, a lot of folks attending it, it seemed to be the conversation was John and I. And I just had more and more that he spoke. I had more questions for him. And so at the end of it, I reached out to John, and we were receiving some initial guidance from the New York chapter. But after meeting John and then having some sidebar conversations, I thought, wow, this is really opening up my mind to this amazing resource that could bring a lot of perspective to what we're doing and help us, especially from someone who's qualified and is trained as John is with his qualifications, to get that perspective. Because we're always looking to how can we improve. And of course, when you're so much immersed inside your work, you lose complete sight of everything that's going on, both for good and for things they need to be aware of. So I ended up asking NMRC, would it be possible that through New York mentoring, which I was attached to, could we then strike up a relationship and start working with John, who's in Virginia, in which they granted that. And that started an amazing experience for us that I don't think, I would safely say that I don't think any other grantee has adopted themselves or become part of John's world the way we have, because it's just, I can't say enough of what NMRC is and what we all, as doing the work we're doing, the resource that we have access to. And I believe that a lot of people are not taking advantage of what there is to offer. And I certainly, I can talk all day about what we've gained, both as an organization, as our program, and individually, how working with John in particular, but also just having access to the enormous resources, how that has impacted on every level across the board for our organization, our work. So.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. So now I have a question for you, John. What was your experience in supporting road recovery through this technical assistance, and how was it working with their team?
Well, Gene did a great job of explaining how we connected. The short story is it's been fantastic. I mean, they're pretty much an ideal client in the sense that Gene came to the process fully committed, really wanted to get in and do some good work. He wanted to learn. He trusted the perspective that I brought to the work. And, you know, he's just engaged with it in all the ways you'd want, by asking great questions, by, you know, coming to meetings really prepared, you know, in between meetings, like, you know, he's doing lots of stuff so that he can push it forward, and then challenging me to help meet the program's needs. And something that I feel that Gene has just done that's made a huge difference is connect me with different staff members so that I can get perspectives from various different vantages on the program. And it's helped me kind of put my finger on the program, understand what they're doing really, really well, so that I can help them really effectively. And just so, man, it's just standing stuff up and knocking it down through multiple grant cycles, where they're just making outstanding use of the the time that they have, the resource that they have, and continuing to make progress at whatever level they need, right? You know, in a consistent way. I also could talk at a lot of length about all the good things that have gone on. But generally speaking, it's been kind of an ideal situation.
Awesome. So now I have a question for both of you, and Gene, will start with you. So were there any challenges through the technical assistance process, or were there any surprises that you'd like to share?
I think at first it was really, as John pointed out, it was really getting to know each other. We needed to build a relationship. He needed to understand who we are, and we needed to understand who he was. And to, you know, I should say there were some, you know, there's some guidelines that NMRC has, like, of things, you know, here's a checklist of things you may want to work on, as far as within the organization, within the program, which we started to attack. But what it allowed us, and what was needed, was it's really about time, and it's about really understanding, because, you know, everyone out there that's doing work, each is unique unto themselves. And so to really understand, and I think for John, for him to really kind of get his arms around what we were doing, in order to then to be able to look under the hood or really make assessment suggestions of, to really get to know who we are, which that took some time. It's sort of like learning the rhythm of a, you know, bicycle. But one of the things that we did was, we were both really committed to, it was weekly. Like, we started off kind of there, and it was just these weekly things. Like, we had a regimen. John was a real big part of my week. And the beautiful thing about that was, as we went through this process, getting to know each other and him getting to know the work, the wheels started turning in my head, going back into my work mode. And I started to carry that into the work mode and talking to the staff. And so that was it. You know, there's a bit of a learning curve. But what started to open up and start to realize, because again, we were new to this game and we were new to this resource, was to understand, like, what can we learn from this? And there was the obvious things that we needed to check off the box that we clearly could see that John, based on his experience with a new organization, these are the things we should address. But as we started getting into it, I started to get ideas and started talking to the staff, and they say, well, what about this? And I started to bring problems and challenges that we were facing to the table, and having someone from a fresh perspective, let alone someone who's versed in research and really is in sound, in really looking at sound programming practices, that started to, and then we started to just go down a rabbit hole. I mean, at that point, then it was just down. And then my staff, which we have, like, you know, we have over 20 across the state of New York, they started asking me, well, who is this guy and what is this? And I have the beautiful thing is I have people, our staff is made up of people who make their living in the entertainment industry, who have all looked at their own personal adversity and addressed their own adversity. So they're open. These are people that are coming to the table open to learn. And so they're extremely curious and also skeptical. There's a lot of skepticism when it comes to data and research, and a lot of it, you know, they feel is hogwash and stuff. So, you know, they were like, well, what is this? And is it, you know, and they constantly are challenging to make sure, you know, is things legitimate, or is it, you know, so they wanted to get into the conversation. And that's where the next thing started, where, you know, I can talk all day about my work and stuff, but you're only getting one perspective. Where you really need to really get your head around what's going on, you need to talk to all parties. And so the interests of our staff and the interests of John, we started to open up those conversations. And that created some problems, because John got to meet some of our staff that are pretty headstrong and opinionated, and you know, how to weather those those storms. But I hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, and then John, do you have anything to add to that?
Gene, that was so rich, and like, you touched on a bunch of the things that I thought were worth talking about. So road recovery is unique, and many programs are, like this is one of the things about the mentoring field, right? Everybody's kind of got their secret sauce, but road recovery is unlike any program I've worked with. And so it was important for me to really come to understand the program. But what Gene, there's two things that I found most challenging about the work. One was the moving parts, because as Gene says, there's a bunch of staff and there's a number of sites, but each of those sites works in partnership with a clubhouse that road recovery cannot control, right? So there's an implicit negotiation there. And each site really serves a fairly unique or different population of kids. So what was coming out of each site in terms of perspective and connection with the process was a little bit different. So that was a challenge. But Gene nailed it with the artistic mindset of the staff, right? Artistic, and also I think grounded in kind of this personal working through stuff, where I think there was an initial resistance or reluctance to embrace kind of some of the data-driven stuff that I was bringing to them. And this is where I feel like the TA that can be done through the NMRC is one of the best things that's happened to the field since I've been in it. That's 25 plus years, and I'm an old guy. They can move at the pace they need to move, okay? There's a lot less pressure. They can do what they need to do as they need to do it. So yeah, I talked to some staff who really, I don't think were, came into the conversation kind of looking to embrace what we were getting into. But I was able to take it at a pace that met them where they needed to be met, right? And like good mentoring, good consulting is all about that. And it was wonderful. So Gene putting me in touch with folks and then having the opportunity to talk. And if they had questions or they wanted to challenge this aspect of it or that, we could work through that until honestly, everybody came together in a way and was able to buy in. And we were able to do some stuff and put some stuff in place that I think is more reflective of the program, the priorities and what people want and need than we would have been able to do if we'd been like, okay, this has to happen by the end of next week and on a set time schedule. So yeah, there were a couple of big challenges, but the very nature of NMRC TA work and Gene's engagement, right? Kind of supporting that connection and process really enabled us to work through those things.
Awesome. And so Gene, what were some of your most important learnings for your organization?
A lot of it had to do with what in the real granular a lot of the subtlety stuff that we were doing, and that came from the heart, or came from common sense, and also came from our own personal experiences, especially working with youth, of seeing ourselves in them. But the TA process, allowed us to look at it in more depth, and kind of refine or sharpen those areas. And some areas that we were just kind of going about doing, that we were able to, hey, stop. You need to look at this. You really need to look at what you're doing, because this is very interesting. It also, we were hitting brick walls, and we were hitting brick walls. We were able to then collectively, from these different perspectives with John, and really look at our evaluation, and not just, we had put together our own evaluation based on our own experience and some guidance and support from some other folks in the mental health world in the field who had done survey stuff. But what we're able to do is then really look at that and say, wait a second, is this really working? And we actually spent a lot of time, not only myself and John, but the staff getting involved, and then even going further, which is going to the kids and really looking at. So the whole notion of gathering data wasn't the fact of just gathering data for the sake of the grant, but what we're realizing was no, this is going to help us best serve those we wish to impact, which is kids. We start to look at the data as, no, we're looking at it completely wrong. We didn't realize initially that this is really an asset for our organization and for us to look at, and to build a stronger organization. So, those are the things that started to happen. But I guess where we're leading to is also one of those things on the checklist that needed to be addressed was a logic model. And because when we wrote the grant, we had never put together a logic model, Jack and I, and we actually had consultants who worked for Bill Clinton's foundation who kind of helped us through, this is what a logic model. So one of the things that was on the front burner for renewing and going after grants was, Jack was saying to me, like, really need to address this logic model thing, which became an exercise for John and I to really start to do, of getting that done. But once again, there we went down the rabbit hole, because as John and I started getting into it, it started unearthing more stuff that I was going back to our staff to talk about. And does this make sense? And I think we hold the record for spending more time on creating a logic model than anyone else. And then I'll just finish up. So kind of where that led us. So, for us, a lot of people don't fully understand what we do. And a lot of people don't have time to really understand what we do. And we're a nonprofit, so we're always seeking awareness and funding. This logic model that was amazing that we created on paper, I was like, this is a huge marketing tool for us. Because now finally, instead of me standing on my head 100 times a week trying to explain the nuances of what we're doing, maybe we could translate this bubble chart into an actual piece of video content, drawing upon our creative folks. So I could actually then have a video to explain who we are in the stew, in the mix. And there we go. That opened up a whole new world. Along with, mind you, all during this, we're still evaluating and looking at things. We've actually gone so far now, which I think is testimony to John and the research and the value of data, is we've now gone into an exercise now where John and the team are meeting with the youth that have taken these surveys to get their perspective of, and really what it comes from, which I think is really touching, is out of respect. And what I've learned is, research, sucks the information out of whoever they're going after, and then they go on and they use it, and that's it. But nobody goes back to talk to the people that provided that information. And we're now in an exercise where John and the team are going back to talk to the kids that gave the information, to double check the information. Is it accurate? Does it make sense? Are we on point? And to get their impressions and feelings of it. So that's taking us to a whole nother level, which really excited to hear what's going to come back from the kids.
Yeah, that was an awesome response. So the next question is for both of you, and we'll start with John this time. So if you guys were giving advice to another organization that's hoping to make their most out of their experience when receiving technical assistance, what might you tell them?
Holy smokes. Honestly, I could do worse than to tell them to watch this video, because Gene has expressed, I think, so eloquently and genuinely just the things that I would highlight, right? He came to the process not steeped in evaluation, right? This was a beginning thing, and it was actually fairly uncomfortable for some members of his staff. But Gene was committed to learning, and he was committed to the process. And through that leadership and that facilitation, right, we were able to work through challenges, and we were able to develop stuff and start turning out material that was valuable to people. People like, oh, hey, I like this a lot better than the thing we had. Or this really this meets this need that I had, right? That I didn't have any tool for that yet. And over the course of the time we've worked together, we've been able to do that. So coming to it with a willingness to learn, right? A commitment to doing the work so that we can, in a regular way, so that we can move things forward, right? Even when, yeah, we were spending a fair amount of time like working through elements of, for instance, a logic model or something else, right? That process was so important because Gene was getting a ton out of it. I mean, the video that they created out of the logic model is spectacular. It's so interesting and engaging, right? And that wouldn't have come out of hey, let's just get it done approach to the thing, right? It was an immersive learning and trying to do good work. So I emphasize trying to do good work. I think Gene trusted me over time, like trusted what I brought to the process and put me in touch with staff in ways that allowed me to be genuine, form relationship, and bring people along at the pace that they wanted or could do that. And I thought that was really key to the process. So we've evolved, and that's a word I'd want to use, is evolve. At whatever pace you can, but you build on the last thing and you work towards the next thing. Heck, I could probably come up with 92 other great things, but honestly, I feel like Gene just talking about the way he's come to the process and what he's gotten out of it is just an eloquent kind of indication of how to do it.
And Gene, do you have anything to add to that?
Respect a gift. That's what I was taught. And respecting a gift and realizing sometimes you don't understand what the gift is, but be open to accepting it and respect it and take advantage of it. And I think that was what this was about for me personally, but what has now ripple effect through my entire organization is that we believe in the power of we, and me alone, we're in a dangerous spot, but together we can do anything. We can accomplish anything. And what we discovered in winning these grants was that a major area for us to grow and learn, which is about remaining teachable, because nobody has the silver bullet or all the answers. And when you come to the table, I'm sober 31 years, and I was told by a therapist when I was leaving treatment 31 years ago, when I was fearful of going back into the world, and he said, "Gene, this is really simple. You will never engage in self-destructive behavior again if you remain humble and teachable. If you're open, then you will find answers." And I have found that is so true, that when I get out of my own way and be open, solutions come. But when I hold on to my own way of thinking, I usually just end up batting my head against the wall. And so my suggestion is, it's a gift. Technical assistance is a gift. It's not like, oh, I got to put these hours in or anything. And yes, it requires, like anything, a commitment. And I have to say, because I've seen this happen to John, I've seen this others where people don't. And then it's like, oh, I got to get all these hours completed and stuff. And, that to me is disrespectful. And I think if people understand, or give them a chance to really understand what National Mentor Resource, what TA support can give them, just slow down and take it in, I think you will find that your whole world will be transformed. That's where I would be, is take the time to check this out and be respectful of this gift, because it's an amazing gift that absolutely will change things for the better, for your organization and for you personally. I have grown personally, I have grown so much over this experience, and so has my staff.
You
Yeah,
can
those are
just
both.
see what kind of gift, right, I have had in working with Gene and his staff. It's moving.
Those were both great responses. Thank you guys for that. So my next question for Gene is, what are some other ways that your organization has utilized the NMRC resources?
It has opened up in terms of just levels of like I'm just thinking what we're doing now is we're really getting into a lot of the training aspect of working with young people, which John has taken on, and that has opened up a whole sort of HR area for us that we need to look at in this new age of working with kids and safety between adults, mentoring and working with young people, and with the with technology. You know, it's very hard to hold boundaries and such and safeguard those areas. So, you know, that has opened up for us. I continue to go to the seminars. In fact, I just signed up for some more because I always get something out of them. I hear from other people. I've connected with other organizations. And vice versa, providing some experience and such. So our world has become a lot bigger in terms of relationships, but also in terms of resources. So I feel now that, you know, over the past 3 years that you know, there's no question that we're left with that I can't go and find an answer to, or get some information to be able to provide for ourselves as an organization or my staff or anyone. So, and I'm amazed how many people out there I talk to don't even know about NMRC. I'm shocked. I'm really shocked, especially the enormity of the organization. So yeah, I can't say enough. And I just hope people take advantage of this wonderful gift that's being given so freely.
Yeah, that was a great response. And so thank you both for taking the time to join me today and share your experiences and insights. It was truly a pleasure to hear about all the impactful work you are doing in the mentoring field. For those of you watching, please find all the resources mentioned in this interview linked in the description below. And if you would like to learn more about Road Recovery's work, please visit their linked website. Thank you both again, and thank you all for watching. Have a great day.